I learned very early that betrayal doesn't always come from enemies. Sometimes it comes from the people who know you best, the people who smile at you every morning, the people who say, "We're family." This story didn't begin with shouting, it began with trust. When my father passed away, everything changed quietly. Not overnight, but slowly, like something valuable being taken from a room one item at a time. He had been the balance in our family, the voice that made things fair, the one who listened before deciding. When he was gone, the silence he left behind became a space others rushed to fill. At first, nothing seemed wrong. My older brother took charge of things, paperwork, finances, responsibilities. He said it was temporary, said it was easier if one person handled it. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? Family isn't supposed to need proof. The house still felt the same. The walls didn't move, the furniture didn't change, but conversations did. Decisions started being made without me. Plans were discussed in rooms I wasn't invited into. Whenever I asked questions, I was told, "Don't worry about it. We've got it handled. It's complicated. You wouldn't understand." At first, I told myself it didn't matter. I didn't want conflict. I didn't want drama. I just wanted peace. One afternoon, while cleaning out old files, I noticed something strange. Documents were missing. Not misplaced, removed. Important ones. I asked casually, "Oh, those?" my brother said. "We reorganized. Everything's fine." His smile didn't reach his eyes. That was the first moment doubt entered the room, quietly. Weeks later, the truth surfaced in the most ordinary way. A letter arrived. It wasn't addressed to me, but I opened it by mistake. It mentioned property, assets, ownership. My name wasn't there at all. I remember sitting down slowly, not because I was shocked, but because suddenly everything made sense. The closed doors, the short answers, the missing documents. I hadn't been forgotten. I had been excluded. That night, I didn't confront anyone. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't demand explanations. I just listened. Listened to the house. Listened to the silence. Listened to my own heartbeat slowing down. Because when betrayal becomes clear, anger isn't the first thing you feel. It's clarity. I realized something important in that moment. If they were willing to erase me quietly, then I would leave just as quietly. The next morning, I packed a small bag. Nothing dramatic, no announcement. When my brother asked where I was going, I said, "I need space." He nodded too quickly, relief disguised as concern. As I walked out, I looked back at the house one last time. Not with hatred, with understanding. Some people don't betray you because they hate you. They do it because they think you won't notice. And that's where they make their mistake. Leaving didn't feel brave, it felt necessary. When I closed that door behind me, there was no dramatic relief, no sudden freedom, just a strange emptiness, like stepping into a place where no one knew your history and no one cared to ask. At first, that scared me. Then, it taught me something. When no one expects anything from you, you're finally free to decide who you want to become. I stayed with a friend for a short while. A small room, a mattress on the floor, a window that let in more noise than light. It wasn't comfortable, but it was honest. For the first time in a long while, nothing was being taken from me quietly. Everything I earned stayed mine. I found work quickly, not because it was easy, but because I wasn't picky. Early mornings, late nights, jobs that didn't come with titles or praise. I learned to keep my head down and my focus sharp. While others spent time explaining themselves, I spent time improving myself. Not to prove anything, just to survive. Days blurred into weeks, weeks into months, and slowly something unexpected happened. I stopped thinking about them, not out of bitterness, but because my life was finally full. I learned new skills, met people who didn't know my family name, people who judged me only by what I did, not where I came from. That kind of respect feels different. It's quieter, heavier, more real. There were moments I almost reached out, moments when loneliness made old memories feel warmer than they really were. But every time I hesitated, I remembered the letter, the missing name, the silence that followed, and I chose forward instead of back. Over time, my work began to speak for me. One opportunity led to another. One connection opened a door I didn't know existed. Nothing explosive, just steady progress. The kind people don't notice until it's impossible to ignore. 2 years passed, then 3. I didn't mark the time, I didn't count the distance, but life has a way of circling back when lessons are due. One afternoon, my phone rang, a number I hadn't seen in years. I let it ring. Then I answered. "Hello?" The voice on the other end hesitated. It was my brother. He sounded different, careful, almost unsure. He said, "We need to talk." I didn't ask why. I already knew. When people call after long silence, it's rarely to apologize. It's because something they relied on has started to crack. He explained slowly. Things hadn't gone as planned. Legal issues, disagreements, questions that suddenly needed answers. My name had come up, more than once. As I listened, I felt something unexpected. Not anger, not satisfaction, just distance. The kind you feel when a chapter has closed so completely that reopening it feels unnatural. I said finally, "I'll think about it." And for the first time in that conversation, he sounded afraid, because uncertainty is terrifying when you're used to control. That night, I didn't sleep much, not because I missed them, but because I understood what was happening. Karma doesn't rush in loudly. It arrives calmly, carrying questions no one prepared for. I agreed to meet them, not because I felt obligated, not because I missed the house, but because some truths deserve to be faced in person. We met in a neutral place, not the family home. A small cafe, quiet enough for honest conversations, public enough to keep emotions controlled. When I arrived, they were already there. My brother looked older, tired in a way success can't hide. He stood when he saw me, unsure whether to hug me or stay seated. I chose the chair. The conversation started slowly, carefully. He talked about complications, about disagreements that had turned into disputes, about documents that were suddenly being questioned. Then he stopped and finally said the truth. "They're asking why your name was removed." I nodded, not surprised, just prepared. He explained how things unfolded after I left, how decisions were rushed, how trust between family members cracked, how what started as control turned into chaos. And then came the sentence that mattered most. "We didn't think you'd ever come back." There it was. Not regret, assumption. I told him calmly that I wasn't there to fight. I wasn't there to reclaim anything. I was there to clarify something important. "You didn't take anything from me," I said. "You showed me who I needed to become without you." Silence followed, heavy, uncomfortable. Truth tends to do that. He asked if I would help, not directly, but enough to make it clear. I looked at him and realized something. This wasn't about revenge. It was about closure. I won't fix what I didn't break, but I also won't pretend it didn't happen. I explained what I had built on my own, the life, the stability, the independence, not to brag, but to draw a boundary. Later that evening, I received messages from other family members, apologies, explanations, justifications wrapped in concern. I didn't respond immediately because timing matters, and karma had already arrived. Eventually, the situation resolved itself, legally, quietly, without my intervention. They had to face the consequences of decisions made without fairness, and I walked away untouched. Months later, I drove past the old house. I didn't stop, I didn't slow down, because some places only matter when you're still searching for approval. I wasn't anymore. Here's what I learned. Family betrayal cuts deep because it comes disguised as love. But healing comes when you stop demanding loyalty from people who showed you their limits. Sometimes the strongest response is distance. Sometimes the loudest karma is silence. If you've ever been pushed